Black child is not a white child who happens to be colored or painted. And too often I hear this phrase, we're all the same except for the color of our skins. The color of our skin represents a long, deep, ancient history. The reason we are the color we are is the result of the historical and cultural experiences of our people. We carry in our genes the total history of African people. Our children contain in their genes not just the programs that determine how tall they will be or how heavy they will be or these other physiological characteristics, but they contain the total history of African people, political, social, biological, and otherwise. And we must keep this in mind. And that history is not a duplicate of any other people's history. And therefore, to understand our children and to understand ourselves, we must understand our history and our bodies. And our bodies are not the duplicates of European bodies. Therefore, we cannot study the European body, nor the nutritioning of that body as a source for the proper nutrition of our own bodies to fit the needs of our own bodies. We must know ourselves. Our children, just as our ancestors were the first to walk on the face of this earth, to talk first, to organize politically and socially, to organize social relations and so forth, you will see that our children walk earlier, talk earlier, their bones grow faster, their teeth grow faster. As a matter of fact, they are born intellectually in advance of the white child. The black child comes on this earth doing things on the very first and second day of life it takes the average white child 4 to 6 months to do. So we are not talking about a duplicate. To base then the teaching and training of our children on that of white children is to miseducate our children and to rear them incorrectly. And that's one of the major problems we are having today in the education of our children. We are basing that education upon the history and experience of another people. And we must bring this to a close if we are to save our people. We must understand. You must understand that just as your own personal history, just as your own psychology can only be explained in terms of your personal and unique history, that you cannot take another person's psychology based on their history and experience and explain you. You cannot take the psychology of another people based on their history and experience and explain yourself or explain black people. And today, the pedagogy, the school programs and so forth that exist, that are used to educate our children, are programs based on the history and experience and therefore the psychology of Europeans. And despite the best intentions of people in those school systems, our children will be miseducated, if not fully educated at all. We have to keep this in mind. We must also recognize this, that the destiny of children is not the same. Get rid of the term equal education. Get rid of the term standard education. There's no such thing as standard education and equal education. Your children must be educated appropriate to the problems they must solve. And those problems are not the same as white children. The destiny of black people is not the destiny of whites. And therefore the children must be reared and educated to fulfill those destinies. Recognize that the basic destiny of the white child is essentially conservative. That is, to maintain the advantages that the Europeans already have and to enhance those advantages. The destiny of the black child then, when we look at where our people are the world over, when we complain that even in our own countries we do not have control of the economic systems, when we see our people starving to death over the world's wealth under their soils, when we look everywhere and we see the black man on the bottom of every ladder, We must recognize then that the destiny of black children is revolutionary. They must be educated to overthrow the world as it now exists.